On this episode of the John 1911 podcast, assault horses, the Biden gun defense, political musings, and what to do about the FBI. Okay, good evening, everybody. This is Danny and Marky, and this is episode 304 of the John 1911 podcast. Can you believe it? We are not dead. We are still around, and it's been a long while. So, Danny, how you been?
Well, I've been checking myself for rigor mortis, but I'm good.
So, are what's I know you were busy with the bridge project, and then I think you were off the bridge project for like a week, and then are you still doing
Umpiring's
that?
winding down, and yeah, there's a little bit of a break. Thank goodness. It's just crazy. What I found out more than anything, nobody wants to work anymore. I mean, they're pulling my old ass out. Things are really bad.
Yeah, the good news is the jobs numbers were unexpectedly higher than what people had thought.
That's
So,
a fallacy because if they're just returning back to pre-COVID levels, so nothing is increased, they're just bringing it back up to the status of where we were. That's all that is doing.
I'm not saying that it's
It's
the
Bidenomics.
that's not Bidenomics. More people, the jobs numbers are increasing. More people are finally getting off their ass and going back to work.
You could fool you could fool me
That's
around here.
that doesn't mean that they probably still need another million to do it, but as opposed to then 50,000. That $300,000 number was pretty impressive. It's like, well, thank fucking God, that's a good start. And maybe we get this economy going again. So, but not every number has to be a partisan. It's Bidenomics. That's just a stat. Just relax.
Uh, yeah, I have about 2 to 3 weeks worth of wind up in me, so watch out.
Oh my God. So, well, before, well, let me. Where do you want to start? I'll just, what? We're kind of free form. Where do you want to
Well,
start?
okay, let's go. Let's start on the political side with the debt ceiling. Biden says he got what he wanted. The Republicans say they got what they wanted. They didn't
Mm-hmm.
shut down the government. Was
Mm-hmm.
the happy median attained? But God knows what kind of deals were cut.
We all know what the deals were cut. Most of them. So, okay, all right. Here's the biggest takeaway from the debt ceiling negotiation that no one's talking about, and probably won't talk about it for a while. But Donald Trump fucked up really bad. You're like, what does Donald Trump have to do with the debt ceiling? He's been out of office for 3 years. Well, he got on CNN for that town hall that they're all. I guess they fired this Chris Licht and over that, and he told, was it Poppy Harlow? Who's the girl? Whatever the girl was.
Poppy Harlow,
Is it Poppy Harlow? I couldn't
I
quite
think
remember.
so.
It's been a month. So
Dylan Mulvaney, I don't know.
and yeah, and and she's asking about the debt ceiling, and he's like, I think we just go ahead and default. And default. I'm talking like I'm from Georgia. And it's like fuck. Because before that um that town hall ended, Democrats, I guarantee you, had already taken video clips of him saying that and had made commercials, turn it to black and white with some really thunderous, crazy music.
Right.
And and Donald Trump says we just go ahead and default, because here's the problem. And everyone's lying right now about this debt ceiling fight that happened. Besides Lauren Boebert, who's caught lying, who was caught. Have you seen that? We'll talk about that in
Yes.
a minute. Yeah, just fucking whatever. Um, Everybody's afraid that the economy is going to roll over this year. Okay, we
Right.
might tip into a real recession. And they try to redefine recession, and it's a presidential election year. And what's going to happen is typically when the economy rolls over, the incumbent president takes it up the ass.
Yep.
And like, well, it's not really my fault. It's like it's the markets. Then, of course, but then that same president, doesn't matter who it is like, the economy's great. It's because of me. Bill Clinton famously was kind of like that. Bill Clinton didn't really do anything to really help the economy, but he took all the credit for it. During the until the .com bubble burst. Okay, and so this was a
Well, he had
battle.
more than a bubble burst.
Yeah, this was a this this was a
You
hey,
caught
no,
that.
hey, don't distract me with the blue dress. Okay.
Well,
Um
devil with a blue dress on.
but the thing is, if the economy had rolled over and we defaulted on the debt, which would have caused a lot of turmoil in the markets and caused a lot of other problems, would it have been
Well,
the end of the world? And would it have been the end of the world? No, but it would have caused a lot of problems and hurt a lot of people. And I'm not going to go into specifically,
well,
but
I
wait a
look
minute,
at
don't
it.
wait.
Go
I got to
ahead.
make the
Go
point. I got
ahead.
to make the
You
point.
make your point, then I'll make mine.
Okay, and so if the economy rolls over right now, it's Biden's fault. It's Biden's economy. And then people say it's Bidenomics. Okay. But if the economy, if they had defaulted on the debt ceiling and everything bad that happened, the Democrats and the media, and this is something you have to factor in here. You just can't say, well, it's bullshit. It's not all that. It's all the money they spent. It's like, well, you know what? The media is going to fucking carry that water. And if they had defaulted on the debt ceiling, the media and the Democrats would have hung that around the Republicans' neck and really hurt Republicans in 2024 and in the midterms. Um, because or in the coming up in the next election cycle, because they would make the argument that Republicans are would run little black and white dramatic stories of people unemployed or whatever, people, I can't, my interest rates or this, I can't afford that, whatever, with music, and then Donald Trump in the background, we just go ahead and default now, he's get it over with. And it's all politics, but that's how it works. But that was the battle. That's the battle. If you're going
I
to fight, over spending, fight over a budget.
I now see. I'm looking at this from the outside looking in. I think when Trump said that, hey, let's just default, I think the power to be Democrats realize, hey, you've got these hardliner Matt Gates and all these others that might just let it do it. I'm thinking with what Trump said, it brought the Democrats to the table more, knowing that, hey, they might just do it. That's where I think the deals were cut. It
You're
brought the
you're completely making up bullshit as you go along right
no,
now
I'm
with this one.
not. No,
Not
I'm not. I think the Democrats came to the table knowing that the Republicans, some of them didn't care, and I think that was a good negotiating point for the Republicans.
Donald Trump isn't in government.
I
So okay,
understand that,
so
but
let
his
I know.
minions.
Let me his minions. The Democrats want the people to use me. So let's go back in time, ancient history to January.
Okay.
Ancient history, January.
All right.
And the Biden White House comes out and they say, and I quote everybody, we will not negotiate on the debt ceiling,
Correct.
unquote. That's what they came out and said. So that's a good place to negotiate from. They came out and they're like, we're not going to negotiate on the debt ceiling. That's what the Biden people told the press and they told the House. And why did Biden say that?
To try to, I think, just to try to show that he's going to be stalwart with his ideas, and his handlers said that.
No, he said it. His handler didn't say it. Joe Biden
Well,
said it.
they wrote it on the teleprompter in crayon for him.
No, but okay, but why? Okay, but all right, doesn't matter. Why did the West Wing say that? There's a reason.
A
It's
starting
not
point.
be. It's not. No, it's not a starting point. Everybody thought that McCarthy, whatever his fucking name is, was so weak that and his caucus is so fractured with the Matt Gaetzes and the Marjorie Taylor Greens. And I got to tell you what, Marjorie Taylor Greene, she still can't do a pull up, but at least she's turning out that she's trying to be a legislator. I got a legislator. I'm got to give it to her somewhat. The White House thought there is no way that the speaker is going to be able to round up all these cats to get them to agree to anything. And so just let them hang themselves. Let the fight happen in the House. They're going to try to take him down. There'll be an insurgency. There's all this and there's all that, and it'll all just look like the Republicans are wrecking the economy and wrecking everything, and the White House can just sit there. That's what the White House was figuring. And to be honest with you, that's what the media was figuring. And honestly, that's what the Republicans were figuring, because all the Republicans, McCartney, they all said that McCarthy, they all said that he. I get McCarthy and McCartney confused. Obviously, is it who is it? It's speaking of that. Is it McCarthy?
McCarthy, and then McCartney was a Beatle.
Okay, well, that's the other McCartney. So McCarthy. So but like they were like McCarthy's never going to be able to keep a speakership. Like they're going to he's going to be deposed immediately. Well, he
Right.
hasn't been deposed. He hasn't been deposed after the debt ceiling fight, because apparently enough Republicans realized, oh my God, we're getting set up here to get fucking hammered on this, and all of a sudden McCarthy comes out of the House with a package, and the White House is like, fuck me. He was able to get a package together to vote on something, and that's how we ended up where we were at, and that's where they got it passed. The
I
White House thought the Republicans in the House were going to be fucking over there committing seppuku, over everything, and the White House is going to act like they were the grown-ups. It had nothing
I
to do with Donald Trump.
I still I think that I don't know. We'll never know what went on behind closed doors, but and I know there was probably more deal making. That that doorknob at the house was probably hotter than $5 hooker night. It
Well,
was,
of course, there's a lot of deal making. There's always deal making in this. Like here, okay, here's a deal, and we can go back to old Joe Manchin. Okay, remember Joe Manchin on the American Rescue Plan, whatever the hell the thing it was. They're going to spend all this money, and
right.
he was going to be the guy that wasn't going to vote for it. But then he can take a principled stance. I'm not going to vote for it. Then eventually they basically get his ass to fucking vote for it, because he doesn't want to be the guy, because the whole entire party is like, you're the one guy that's keeping this from happening. Fuck you. And so that's it. So they had to work with him. He got his pipeline, which they, by the way, just now started firing up again in West Virginia. So the same thing happened with the Republicans in the House. So they're whipping up the votes, and there's certain members that want to be able to come out and be like, um, I don't want to vote for this because it's going to make me look bad when I get home. And it's like McCarthy's like, all right, we're trying to whip up the votes. If I don't need your vote, I'm not gonna force you to take the vote. I'll force you. I'll let you, vote against it. But if I need your vote, we're going to have to help me get other people on board so you can vote against it, knowing it'll still pass. That's the deal that's made. And and I hate to say this to my fellow Republicans. Again, I was for passing the debt ceiling. I'm not for running all this debt, but I was for passing the debt ceiling because for multiple reasons. One, I feel like your economy's in a bad place. Two, I don't want I want us to start making money and be a better country. And three, I don't want the Republicans to get blamed for all this shit that the Biden administration's been doing. So if you look around at everybody that had a chance to vote on this, okay, Massey from Kentucky voted for it. Jim Jordan fucking voted for it. Um, Boebert lied about missing the vote, but apparently still passed. She didn't even get a chance to vote against it. I mean, and so this was, this all the deals are made to try to get this thing passed.
It's a numbers game.
Yeah.
And like you said earlier, the Republicans, they have bean counters. They knew that they needed to protect some of their some of their members, by not letting them vote for it. And they still
Hmm.
had enough, they still had enough numbers to get it. But
And it's like, okay, do me a favor here. A congressman so and so in the 57th district of whatever state.
right,
If you'll vote for
exactly,
this, and Congressman so and so in the 60th district of whatever state, if you two will vote for it, that'll offset the vote against it by this guy. We're going to take care of you on the next vote for shit you need at your when you want to bring the bacon home.
right,
And
exactly.
that's how the deals work.
Yep,
Because there's dudes that want to not have to vote for it, but they also don't want to end up like Joe Manchin. They don't want to be the dude that votes against it, then rolls the economy over. And this actually happened before. Um, do you remember when Ted Cruz essentially closed the U.S. government?
yes, yes, I do.
And who got blamed for that during the Obama
Uh,
administration?
right,
Republicans. Republicans. Ted Cruz thought he was going to. Ted Cruz. He. That's when Ted. That's that. When that happened, that was all about Ted Cruz. He was claiming it was a principled stand, and a lot of people bought into that. And there's something to be said for that. But also, it was more about Ted Cruz. It was a way for him to bring the spotlight onto himself, so he could try to launch his political career beyond the Senate. And he did a bunch of shit that his fellow Republicans said, "Don't do this. You're going to fuck us." And they never forgave him for it, and they fucked a lot of them. And
mm.
the Republicans were trying not to have that happen again. So,
Well, enough of the debt ceiling. Did you see where the House has been doing all these type of hearings, and the best one that I've been watching was when they had the FBI director Christopher Wray in there. He was used when the Democrats ran it to being, softballed on the questions. I got to give Jim Jordan credit. He calls it like it is. And old Ray was sweating bullets about the weaponization of the FBI. I mean, the House members on that committee had done their homework. I mean, it was very interesting to watch.
you know, I haven't said this on podcasts in a while, and I have not followed these hearings because right now it's all just chewing gum. Politically, we're in a holding pattern. People are trying to people are running for president and they're trying to raise money so they can make it past Thanksgiving, and so they can hopefully show up. They can win place or show in Iowa and New Hampshire, and so the rest of it's just kind of like background noise. But I've talked about there's an example I've gave, and I'm going to give it again. It's been a long time. We have a lot of new listeners. The French government, there's the French military, and then there's a group called the French Foreign Legion, which I'm certain that most of our members, if they're not familiar with, they've heard they've at least heard of it. And so what had happened was the French maintained a colony. It essentially was a colony, but it was in what we would call Algeria today, and it's in North Africa. And France had been trying to it occupied this thing for I don't know how many, maybe hundreds of years, and they actually considered it sovereign French territory. Like it, well, they didn't consider it a colony; they considered it French soil. And the French Foreign Legion, like I think they were based like in North Africa. Like their headquarters before, like they have a headquarters down in southern France. I can't remember what it's called, but like their base, I think, was in North Africa. Like their actual permanent headquarters until the French decided they were going to everyone's decolonizing and they're giving up all this shit, and the French were doing it too. and there were a bunch of French generals. Well, there was a general and maybe some colonels. They had decided that fuck this, fuck you. They were going to do a coup, and they were going to take over the government. They were going to remove Charles de Gaulle, and they were going to stop this because they were betraying the country. And some fighting broke out within the French military. This was in the 50s. Pretty sure it was in the 50s. And there was actually the second. See, if you look at the French Foreign Legion, there's watch your microphone in the
I know
French Foreign
I
Le-
hit it with my finger. My bad.
in the French Foreign Legion. There is like one there's like maybe figure like first, second, and third, and then each first, second, and third regiment has like they'll have a infantry unit, they'll have a uh, uh, an airborne unit. They call it like pair up. Well, it's like their airborne unit. And then like the one of them, I think if I recall, I haven't looked this up in a while. And then I think there's a third one that maybe has some support elements to it. But anyway, the members of the French Second Parachute Regiment, their plan was they were going to parachute into Paris, grab the presidential palace, and seize Charles de Gaulle when this coup happened. Okay, they ended up never jumping over Paris and doing whatever. But when it was all said and done, obviously the it was called the colonel's coup or the general's coup or whatever it was called. They lost and the French government won. And what the French did, they didn't disband the second parachute regiment of the French Foreign Legion. They erased it. They didn't case the colors. They didn't deactivate the unit. It's gone. Like it never existed. It's because they betrayed the country. They betrayed the republic. I think that ended up creating this resulted in the creation of the French Third Republic now, which most Americans wouldn't even understand. But the result was this organization had so metastasized into an anti-government entity, anti-sovereign entity, that it had to be destroyed. And so even today, if you look at the table of order of battle, the Orbat, and the table of equipment and of the French Foreign Legion, if you look at their units, you'll notice the second group, there is no para group. It just doesn't exist. There's like a whatever group, whatever, and like one ground and one para, and two ground, and then there's a three, whatever. But like two para just disappears. And I'm telling you that story to tell you this story. There is a growing argument to be made that the FBI probably should be disbanded.
I am in full favor of that.
Now, when I say that, and when you say you respond to this, you're like, I'm in full favor of that. Most people who are hearing me say those words and they go, I'm in favor of that, probably don't fully appreciate how difficult and dangerous that step would be.
Why
I
it can be replaced with another agency with new
that's
leadership.
that's the simple thing. I'm not now wait a minute, I'm the one that proposed it. So just I'm not saying I'm defending the FBI. I just said that an argument can be made and I'm becoming, you know, I'm starting to not see a logic as to not why not to do it. But the FBI is becoming, you know what, that's not true. That's not historically correct. The reality is the FBI has never functioned with proper oversight, and it's in the history of the country. Because the reality is the FBI was started by J. Edgar Hoover. And J. Edgar Hoover when he started, 20s, late 20s,
Yeah.
mid 20s, prohibition. And he ran it up until what, the 70s? Was
70s,
it
I
when
like 71, 72, something
yeah,
like that.
Nixon president? And
Right.
it's like, and and like they were, they were developing jackets and blackmail, essentially blackmail information on all these politicians, presidents, and the argument for it. And it's not a illogical argument. Is it's better that we know our dirty shit so people can't use it against us. Um, but a country, America is set up, our government is set up because in a way that it requires a moral and just citizenry to function. And it's becoming increasingly clear if you look at the history of the FBI and the behavior of J. Edgar Hoover. And he did a lot of good things. I mean, J. Edgar Hoover deserves a lot of credit for really fighting the communist influence of the United States up until the very end.
Well,
But
but you,
but he
go
did
ahead.
that. He did that. That was he he could have just as easily deposed the president and tried to take over the country. And it's becoming increasingly clear now that the FBI is an agency that's out of control and is not set up with any guardrails or checks and balances or division of labor or power to keep individuals, unnamed individuals, or low-level people, unelected individuals, from wrecking a presidency or trying to change the outcome of an election or trying to, get in bed with a political party. And as difficult as it is to consider how difficult it would be to replace the FBI, because just remember that the French Foreign Legion, the French government, they did it. And like the storied French Foreign Legion, click, two para, whatever they're called, it's whatever the French version of para, two para gone. It's not disbanded. It's not deactivated. I don't think I don't like two para. I'm pretty certain if you had the uniform and you had the patch and you did whatever, you couldn't even you can't go to the reunions, you can't visit the base, you're gone. You're done. Like just don't exist.
But you talk about the FBI, the same out of control argument can be made for the ATF, the Treasury Department. I mean, things are getting way, way, way out of hand. Do you want to create a super agency? I don't think so, but I
Who's talking about creating
believe,
a super agency? What are you talking about?
well, like if they got rid of the ATF and the FBI and all the other stuff and put everybody under one agency, you know, instead of having all these different ones, I don't know what you do, but
Nope,
there
nope,
has,
no, 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 no. That's not how it works. Number one, that's not how human nature works. Number two, that's not how government works. And number three, that's not how money works and power. So, for example, if you look at the in the United States, we supposedly okay. What is the FBI? And I know we didn't you didn't know there was going to be a quiz, but can you actually what does the FBI do? Do you know? Like, have you considered it?
they're actually supposed to be more, let me think of my words correctly. They're supposed to be more of a diagnostics lab type government agency for crime.
No,
That's what I would think.
no. That's one aspect. That's one aspect. The FBI, okay. The FBI does. They're obviously probably the supreme federal investigative and law enforcement agency in the country. They are the chief under the Department of Justice, They are the chief standards and standard bearer of 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 qualifications and of of what would be the best way to put this, standards and qualifications to be law enforcement that people should rise to. The other thing the FBI does is they are a counterintelligence organization. So we have in this country, we have a rule. The CIA cannot spy in the United States. You know that, right?
Yes,
Most
that I
people,
do.
most people do. They know they're like posse comitatus, but posse comitatus isn't actually never. Posse comitatus is real, but it's not. It's never actually been tested. It's a law that's not not real. Um, um, the CIA cannot technically spy inside the United States. The FBI is the domestic counterintelligence agency in the United States. And the FBI is also considered one of the chief investigative, the premier, and the FBI is considered the premier investigative law enforcement investigative agency on the planet. And I can't overemphasize that. Like, here America talk about Scotland Yard and James Bond. Yeah, the reality is they all want to be the FBI, and everybody's afraid of the FBI. And when I say everybody's afraid of the FBI, I'm not talking about dudes on January 6th. The FSB is afraid of the FBI. North Koreans are afraid of the FBI. The Chinese Ministry of State Security is afraid of the FBI because they're the best, and they're a serious, competent adversary. And one of the fears is if we were to try to we're not going to shut down the FBI. What we're going to end up having to do is in in the um, in the United Kingdom they have MI5 and MI6, and I guess is it I can't I'm not up on my James Bond. Is MI6 the foreign intelligence and MI5 the domestic intelligence?
I do not know.
I can't, but that's how they break it up. But here's the problem: in the United States, we have the FBI, which does national civil law enforcement. They do law enforcement standards for the country, and they do national counterintelligence. And that's a lot. You get a group that controls domestic law enforcement and controls domestic counterintelligence operations that is also getting in bed with political organizations or political entities is a recipe. It's not a recipe, it is a disaster. The FBI, as it exists right now, is a complete disaster, and it very seriously needs to be considered of breaking it up. And I would the argument that I've heard is, knock the building down and salt the earth. You're going to have to, and here's the thing, you're not going to create a super agency, to your point. You're going to create more agencies. Why have one cabinet level secretary when you can have four? And from a political stability perspective, it's better to have four separate agencies than one super agency because it's harder to coordinate amongst
Mm,
agencies
yeah, but I
or
think
collude.
I, I get that, but I think what has really brought the FBI into the bad limelight is, come on, arresting people going to school board meetings, some of the memos coming, from the DOJ. It's just, Merrick Garland to me is a joke. That's my opinion. I think the guy's a joke, and I think he's getting back at anything he can, any way he can, because he didn't get the SCOTUS. I think he is just harboring ill will towards anything conservative.
I mean, I don't know enough. I know who Merrick Garland is, but it's like I don't look at it like I, I'm 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 just looking at the current situation with, you know, okay, all right. So everybody right now, just okay, let's just look at the scenario where we're at right now. It's June of 2023. And, we have a presidential election coming up. We're going to have to get to the primaries. You know, the Democrats have pulled out of Iowa, which means there's going to be a ton of Democrats who are going to start showing up at the Iowa caucuses for the Republicans and causing all kinds of drama. And you're going to see, I predicted here, you're going to see whoever wins or loses are going to start blaming it on Democrats voting, creating their own Rush Limbaugh Operation Chaos because the Democrats pulled out of Iowa. And that'll be the conspiracy theory 9, 10, 12, 14 months from now. And, and like the media, the social media companies are like, we're not going to censor. Donald Trump can come back on Twitter, I think, possibly Facebook, I think maybe said Trump can come back. And everybody's like, yeah, okay, let's just move forward. Well, the closer we get, it's obvious to me. The closer we get to 2024, the more that shit's going to come right back. The FBI is going to, the intelligence communities or the FBI or the social media companies, all of them, they're all going to start clamping down and putting their thumbs on the scales, fucking with us and fucking with the election, but not having it, but, and just pretending like, well, this is a crisis again. Like
Yeah.
nothing's going to change. You know,
Well, I know one thing that won't change. My prediction. I still say it's going to be a Trump Tim Scott ticket.
you had predicted Trump and DeSantis.
No, I never said the same. I said Trump. No, you and I were arguing about Tim Scott, and and making his overtures to try to want to be for president. I've always said play the back tapes. It's going to be Trump and Tim Scott.
Um, the reality is, like, I think a bunch of people have gotten in today. Did I guess Pence officially got in today? Yawn. Um,
Yeah,
is Walker in?
I I haven't heard anything about him yet.
Okay, and I know there's been like some governor from, was it from North Dakota? Is he in, the billionaire governor?
No,
Kristi
no,
Noem's neighbor. Yeah, I think he is. I think he's
I
in.
haven't heard that.
I
He's not a
think.
major. He's not going to be a major player.
Well, a lot of these people aren't going to be major players. None of these people are going to be major players because the reality is it's only going to be one. So okay, let's okay. First thing. So have you done any research into Tim Scott and his positions? I have not. Uh,
Some yes, some I have.
how does Tim Scott rate on guns? Do you
He
know?
says he's conservative with them and believes in the Second Amendment,
Okay,
and
but that
and his voting record proves that in the Senate.
okay. Because I will say this, it's probably positional by virtue of, like, we're surrounded by just all this craziness. Something about Tim Scott right now, his personality really appeals to me. Um, but Vivek Ramaswamy, whatever his name is, the way he talks kind of appeals to me too, but for different reasons. But you know, I like the overall arching message that Tim Scott brings, and I'm real curious to see where he can go. His neighbor who lives 19 miles from him, Nikki Haley, she's in big trouble. Nikki
Yeah, she
Haley, yeah, she's in big
she's
trouble.
yeah she's pretty much swept under the carpet. I would say.
She's running out of money. She's
Right.
the reality is right now in this stage of the game, it's all about money. And you start putting together all these staff and you burn through all this money. If you can't keep the money coming in, you're out of the race by Thanksgiving. And if you look at her schedule, apparently she's been flying around the country doing fundraisers, trying to scoop up money because she's in big trouble. But the fundamental problem with Nikki Haley is, as much as I can like Nikki Haley, is in the world where you've got Donald Trump that has reset politics to a retail level, like the retail politician, like Donald. Like, to tell you what, like my mind, I can make the argument of like why I wish Trump would stop, or I wish Trump wouldn't do what he does, or I wish Trump maybe wouldn't run, or all the things like I go, like Trump saying, getting on CNN and saying that stupid comment about the debt ceiling when they're trying to negotiate the debt ceiling. You're just like, oh, fuck. But you know what I think about? I think about the train derailment in wherever it was, Ohio. That was the biggest story in whenever. And now no one can even remember the name of the town in Ohio, including myself, and I live in Ohio. And him showing up, talking to those people, talking at the local firehouse or at the gymnasium at the school, talking at the McDonald's, and Donald Trump, when Donald Trump, that Donald Trump that showed up at that train derailment is unbeatable. He's unstoppable, but can't keep his goddamn mouth shut to save his fucking life.
Oh, he never
And
could.
he says stupid shit. When Donald Trump doesn't know the answer, he'll just make a fucking answer up. And my classical one I always give is when he made a comment about suppressors. There was a shooting with a suppressor in Virginia, I think in a government building, and a guy had a suppressed 45 Glock 21, I think it was. And people were hearing like, "What's that noise? Like, what is that? Like, what is that?" They didn't realize people were being shot. Like, you can obviously hear it, but like, if you don't really know it's a gunshot, you may not be like, "What was that?" Like, you just in denial because people are in denial with regular gunshots. And so, they asked him. He was like, "I don't like them. I don't like suppressors. I don't like them. I'll tell you this, I don't like them." And then literally had to walk him into the West Wing, close the door, and be like, "Motherfucker, shut the fuck up. These are legal. These are fucking regulated." And blah 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 blah. Because he's like, "I don't like them. We're gonna do something about this. I don't like them. I just tell you that right now." And this is like, fucking Christ. And so we're gonna have to look at Iowa. We have to look at New Hampshire. Okay, right now, who? So you're saying it's Trump and it's Tim Scott. I don't know Tim Scott's record on guns, and I know Trump is whatever. Trump just says whatever he needs to say. So you're saying it's going to be Trump and Scott. Who wins Iowa?
Trump.
Did Trump win? I don't think Trump won Iowa last time.
I say DeSantis will pull out by New Hampshire.
Okay, well, I'll tell you this. So I will tell you this. Um, Trump needs to win. If Trump wins Iowa, which he didn't win, I'm almost certain he never won Iowa. If Trump wins Iowa and wins New Hampshire, if he sweeps the first two, he's unstoppable
That's why
because
I said DeSantis will be out by New Hampshire.
it'll be the thing. Well, let's talk about Iowa. I have contacts in Iowa, and I have some feedback in Iowa. The
The only
rumors,
contact you have in Iowa is Brunel's.
no, hey, they lost. You know what? They lost some. We ordered some shit from them, some springs, and they lost them. And nobody, maybe it was Midway. I think it was Midway. We'd go back to Brownells. Um,
I was in there. That place is gigantic.
yeah. The word on the street is there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people in Iowa that are tired of Trump. They're just exhausted by it.
Are you
And
sure that's just not Democrat and liberal news organizations trying to make
no,
it that way?
no, I'm not talking. None of this is coming from the media that you watch. There are political insiders, Republican operatives that run campaigns and do caucuses inside of Iowa who are predicting that Trump's going to come in third in Iowa right now. He says if it were to happen today, Trump would be third. And it's
I
like,
ain't buying it.
well,
We'll
that's what
see.
that's what they're
You will
saying.
see.
But hold on, if all of a sudden then, if with 175,000 Democrats who don't have any caucuses to go to, who are the Democrat who do the Democrats want to Who do the Democrats want the Republicans to nominate so they can have the best chance of beating him and keeping Joe Biden as president?
Trump.
And so it's conceivable you could have 175,000 Democrats in Iowa show up at the Trump caucuses and giving it to Trump.
Yes, yes, it is.
And so everybody gets what they want because you want. I mean, a lot of people want Trump to get the nomination on the right, and a lot of people want Trump to get the nomination on the left. So, but Nikki Haley is she's running out of money. Let's see. And, I don't know, anything else politics wise? Um,
No,
I mean,
no, just um, I can't. I'm having a total brain meltdown. But it's gun content and politics. What are those? What do they call those arm braces that they want to get rid of for pistols? Is there what's the name of them?
arm
Just arm brace?
braces. They're arm
Okay,
braces, and they. Do you know what they are? I mean, if you don't, like, it's not a big. We never had one. So, there's in America we have two classifications of weapons. We have pistols, we have rifles. Broadly speaking, pistols and we have rifles. And a rifle, if you take a pistol and you put a stock on it, it turns it into a short-barreled rifle, which is more heavily regulated. And so what happened was 20 years ago, supposedly sold 40 million of these things. Somebody, like you could buy an AR pistol, and an AR pistol, it doesn't have a stock on it, it's got a buffer tube, and you can shoot them one-handed, but you really got to shoot them two-handed. But there was the rumor I'd always heard was there was a vet who had been injured, I think in Iraq or injured in war somewhere,
right.
or he was
That's the same
disabled,
story I've heard too.
and he could not use both his hands to hold his AR pistol. So a buddy of his created this device that attaches to the back of the gun and then straps around his wrist so then he could hold it with one arm and shoot it. So they sent it to the ATF and they're like, is this legal? We're making this for, it's an arm brace so disabled shooters can shoot this because it's legal. And the ATF wrote a letter and said, yep, that's legal. And I guarantee you, this is the point. That'll be the last ATF approval of anything ever. Because because that is literally for them, from their perspective, has metastasized into effectively destroying the SBR requirements under the NFA. And so if you take this, I'm going to speak in politique terms so I can describe things to make it abundantly clear to people that don't know what I'm talking about, but also illuminate it as a different way to all of our gun people because they're like arm brace and this and SBR, like they know all this stuff. But let's describe what this is. This pistol with this arm brace on it is really like a special needs cripple gun. Okay? And so you stick this thing on the back of a pistol. The ATF says, yeah, that's for handicapped people. It's a handicap gun. So for one armed person, so like what's the one armed killer in that movie with Harrison Ford? I didn't kill my wife. Like if he had an arm brace, but um this is the handicap gun, and so it's like, well, okay, so it's not an SBR, it's a pistol with this brace on the back of it. So then what people were doing, they're like, well, fuck me. So they put this brace on the back of their gun, and instead of strapping it around their wrist, they hold it up against their shoulder. And ipso facto, now we're in
It's
this weird SBR space.
now it's
And
a stock.
and now it's a stock, and they're trying to take them back. And I don't know. Like I've heard there's been 40 million of these things sold.
I've heard that it's insane number.
And one of
Well,
the
all right, but now does that or will that and prove the accuracy of a shooter?
Yes.
Okay. Because of more of a stability factor?
Yes. A rifle is always easier to shoot than a pistol. Um, because a rifle has more points of contact on the body. Um,
All right.
so yeah, so you're taking a pistol and you're not making the rifle more, you're not making the pistol more mechanically accurate. You're making it more ergonomically correct. So it's more stable around human's body to interface with it and hold it still and shoot it repeatedly. Um, so yeah, so I don't know. One of the things that they say is, like, oh, well, common use, right? You always hear the like common use. Well, this wasn't in common use, or that's not in common use, or whatever. This is like this exotic military thing. They always use this common use argument at some point in gun control, and it's like, I don't know, 40 million cripple braces seems pretty common to me. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like, holy shit. Hey, you know what kills more people every year in the United States than AR-15s, I think?
Spider bites.
No, this is a statistic I came up with.
Oh, that you came. Um, empty soup cans. I don't know what.
Horses.
Really?
Well, okay. Think about this. Most people in the United States that are killed with firearms are killed with handguns. If you think of like the amount of shootings that happen with AR-15s, I mean, like, I don't know, like even like the one that there was the shooting in Louisville, like I don't know, like let's say there's I don't know, like, and it's been a lot, like in the past 18 months. I don't know, is it 50 people maybe killed with an AR-15 possibly in the past 18 months total? Like like people, there's I don't know how, what I'm saying. I'm talking deaths.
Right.
You think 50 people would be maybe, I don't know, like let's say it's
Uh,
100.
okay.
Like I just I can't, I don't think 100 people have actually 100 people have been killed. This is important. Have been killed by an AR-15 in the past year.
They had that many over the Memorial Day weekend in Chicago killed with handguns.
Well, but yeah, that's handguns. It's mostly not AR-15s. Do you know how many people are killed by horses every year in the United States? Two
I
200
by horses.
by horses. And I'd heard a statistic, I'd seen it somewhere. Somebody, there's these ranchers, they were talking about this. It blew my hair back. You start thinking about this, you're like, my God. So there's this, it's some kind of cattle ranch or whatever. They use horses, and they're a big business. Like, I mean, it's they don't have acres. They've got sections. Like a section is 650 acres. So like
Right.
we got 10 sections. Like that's how much cattle we run. And they have ranch hands and cowboys and people and whatever, and there's a lot of horses, and they're a business, and so they're looking at their profits, their losses, and their overheads, and their liabilities, and their insurance, and workman's comp, and the benefits, and HR, and all the shit they have to deal with. And one thing that they looked at is they figured out that horses were costing them, people being injured using or being around horses were costing them so much in workman's comp that they decided to get rid of horses. And they're doing everything with, dirt bikes and Jeeps and UTVs and whatever the else they're using. But they literally got rid of horses. And it's like, well,
Wow.
wait a minute. Well, how dangerous are horses? And it's like, turns out over 200 people a year are killed by horses in this country. That's killed. Is the amount of people that are grievously injured by horses in this country. I mean, it's got to be, I don't know, like, is it 1,000? Is it 50? I mean, like possibly emergency room visit. Like, if you think about the amount of like, horses kill more people than all professional sports combined, probably by a factor of,
Hello?
500, I'm
Oh,
guessing.
oh, wow. That's insane. That's uh, well,
But my
my
point is, but if you think about this, people talking about banning stuff and how dangerous stuff is and being against this and being against that, dude, like horses, like it's like horses kill more people, I think, than AR-15s. And then okay, there's the Kentucky Derby, right?
right.
Did you hear like about like all the horses that have died for this last Kentucky Derby?
Yes, I did. I found that really odd.
It's like, I mean, is it up to 12 now?
Somebody might have spiked their oats. Who knows what's going on?
Oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Well,
But I
why
mean,
not have a conspiracy?
no, but it's not. I mean, but, they're obviously doping all these horses up and running them half to death. But it's like they had like 10 or 12 horses die. Like I think they had some die the day of the race, and some died the day after, and one died the day before. Then there's been horses dropping like for like the week after, and it's just like, oh, nothing to see here. And it's like, all right. And then you start thinking about, like you could. I'm laying all this out just to make a point. There are people in this country that are super into safetyism. We got to be safe. We got to do for the children. We got to be safe. Got to be safe. Got to be safe. We all want to have. There's a risk versus reward in being safe thing. Dude, it is not going to be too terribly long until the hippies are truly like they've already gone after the carriage rides in the cities, like in New York. No, they're like, oh, they've
I
gone
know
after.
where this is
Yeah, they've
going.
gone after the carriage rides. Like, oh, that's fucking terrible. The carriage rides, and like, there's an accident or whatever, and like, because there's a horse, someone gets killed, or a horse runs or gets run over, or whatever. All this shit happens in New York, and then all these major cities. And then there's all the deaths of the horses at the horse races, and it's like, oh, let's not look at all the Dr. Feelgood who shows up. I mean, there is a certain percentage of doctors who cater to competitive bodybuilders, think steroids, that are veterinarians. Okay, I'm just saying, and
DMSO.
yeah, and it's just not going to be too long until they're going to come after the horses. They want to ban the horse racing. They're going to ban the carriage rides. They're going to ban, you can't do this. Like, wait till they figure out 200 people a year are killed by horses. Wait till they figure out like how many children every year are if horses are that dangerous, and kids like to ride horses, they go to horse classes and all that stuff. How many kids every year are like injured by horses? Get their legs broken and or fall off, break their neck. Dude, do you remember Christopher Reeve?
Oh yeah,
Most listeners won't know who that is. Tell people
Superman.
who Christopher Reeve was, the original Superman. He was thrown off a horse and broke his neck and became a quadriplegic. And then
Yeah,
he died from it.
yeah, he did.
And I'm just saying, like, it's easy to, the media can run you down a thing where you're like, oh, we got to go after this, we got to go after that, we got to go after this. Dude, they're coming for the horses. First, they're going to take the AR-15s. Dude, they are coming for your horses.
Oh, you're probably correct.
Yeah.
Uh, So, we should have saved that for the police blotter.
No, that's fine. I won't keep you too late. It's late, and I know we're all getting tired. So, hey, I wanted to tell you this. Have you ever? Did they? I'm gonna talk about tractor implement that we've ordered, and it won't be in for 3 weeks. So it won't. You
And you want me to know if it was a good order or not?
No, I just don't even know if you've ever even had experience with these. Do you know? You obviously know what a box blade is.
Yes.
Now, and because you got to be careful when you look at these items, people use different terms.
Right.
And so the term I'm not describing a box blade, and I'm not describing a rear blade. So like the rear 3-point blade on a tractor.
Right.
Do you know what have you ever used a grater blade?
Oh yeah. Yeah. The one that. You could turn it to different angles. Yes, it's got a turntable, and
No, that's the rear blade. That's the rear blade. This is like like a grading scraper blade or ground
it's called
scraper.
a scarfi. The one with the five big teeth.
Well, yeah, these you can, yes, you can get them like the box blade comes with the scarifiers, but this
Right.
is like a it's like a in between. It's like okay, okay, all right, wait a minute. You're a baseball guy. Do you know, okay, so when they have the dude who takes the four-wheeler and he drags the thing around the base or the baseball field to to
Right.
make it all level.
Right.
So what this is above that. It will move material if you want it to, and it's got scarifiers that you can drop, but it's below a box blade. It won't pull as much material as a box blade.
So
And
it's like a raised screen with little boxes then.
no, it's like a drag. It's like a drag with scarifiers that you can optionally, drop them or not, depending on what you're trying to do.
Well, all right. I get the gist of what you're saying, but why would you order it? For what possible reason?
Well, because um,
Here we go.
I'm, I'm not going to do it. I
Yeah,
want it
you are. Yes, you are. You've whetted the appetite. Now, give me the main course. Why did you order it?
because I thought it was going to be more useful and easier. You know what? Hold on. You know what they call? You know what the slang term is for these things? They call them box blades for dummies.
That's why you ordered it. Now that says it all.
Well, it is pretty easy to use. And
Yeah.
what I can use it for is I can use it if I want to drag trails or if I want to put in more parking areas and dig up, because I could just do
Level out gravel.
well, yeah, and I can also importantly I can level out gravel very easily because I got a big pad of all this gravel, tons and tons and tons and tons of gravel, and if it gets rutted up, I can level it pretty easily in the shooting pit, and
So
I
so
can.
could I with a front bucket in the right angle.
Yeah, I know, and that's what everybody says, and the thing is, but I've done that, but it's not as good as it could be, and
A box blade for dummies.
yeah, it's a box blade for dummies, and so I have ones coming, and
I have to ask, what does something like that run?
um I priced one I priced one from Land Pride, and they wanted 3,600. And I was able to get one from the same company that makes the attachments that I currently have. It's I think it's called Ironcraft, Titan Ironcraft. It was
Right.
called Titan something, but it's Ironcraft. It's not the other like people that like. There's another Titan. It's all Chinese, but this is not that. It's the one in Tennessee, and I so my local dealer doesn't have one, but they can get one put on brought in, in about 3 weeks, and they'll deliver it. And so I can 2,800 delivered.
That's not bad, and it
Yeah,
hooks up to the 3 point.
yeah. It's a straight 3 point hookup.
Well, if you if you feel that you could use it, and you know especially around the range and everything, well, good for you. I mean, you may as well try. It's like I would just get in it, and myself, I would just use the front bucket. But then again, I've also done that for 40 years, so
Yeah,
there's a big difference.
yeah. And I've been doing that, but it's not quite as level as it's just never as good as it. I don't have it down. And
Well, practice, practice, practice.
yeah, practice, practice, practice. But it's also like, well, I'm gonna go ahead and get this and just knock it out because I've
Have you
also.
have you had to mow yet?
Oh God, yeah, I'm mowing constantly.
Really?
I was mowing on Tuesday. Today's Wednesday. I was mowing yesterday, and I'll be out there tomorrow, working on stuff too. So yeah, like Yeah.
You're getting a heat wave, it looks like, too.
Oh well, we also got the smoke today too.
Right. I
Yeah.
seen that too. Was it really, was it intense?
It's not as bad as like the pictures you're seeing out of New York City, but it's you know it like if you had breathing problems or if you were paranoid about hyperventilating or like you had shortness of breath or something, I could easily like especially if you're like doing something physically active, I could easily see this you working yourself up into a tizzy and maybe having to go inside. It was noticeable. And one parts of the day it was like, holy shit, like it looks like it's foggy outside in the middle of the day. Yeah.
Well, if it was thick and heavy over New York City, there's a rise in crime
Yeah.
under the cover of smoke.
Apparently this fire's been burning for a month in Canada. And it's like, if you assholes would stop chasing each other around with your pronouns and do a little land management and undergrowth, whatever, maybe you wouldn't burn half your freaking country up.
Hey, how did you like that cartoon I sent you when the kid comes home from school and he pukes out enough of this shit?
No, yeah. Danny
Was
said,
that
yeah,
good?
yeah. Danny sent me this. It's a mom and a school age boy. And this kid's got his little backpack on. He's coming from school. She's like, "So how was your day, honey, or sweetie?" And the kid vomits, and it's just a vomit of rainbow liquid coming out of his
Yeah,
mouth, and it
shoved
was
down his throat.
shoved down his throat. And it's just like, man, that is just like I look. I've always been very. I mean, I'm not even going to. I've never used this word. I've never used this word because this is how I talk. But like, if I were to describe my relationship and my feelings towards gay trans people, it would be fair to say that I'm an ally. Like I've been an ally. But it's like, what the fuck? Like this, you fuckers have lost your goddamn minds with this crazy shit, with
Yeah, they have.
pushing this shit on kids, and pushing this shit in schools, or like drag queen, like fucking the drag queens at like the anti-Catholic drag queen sex group that came to the baseball game in California that they invited, disinvited, then reinvited. It's like, what the fuck? Like, it's just like this. You can tell this is. There's some people need their ass kicked a little bit politically. Don't come at me.
Well, I mean, it's gotten to the point to where, I mean, people like myself, I have granddaughters. If one of those people followed them in and say he identifies as that, well, I identify as a sledgehammer. You know what I mean? I'm following you. It's
Hmm.
like when's it gonna end?
I mean, it's just like it's like you got trans people in women's prisons, impregnating prisoners. You've got biological men destroying women's sports. It's just like, and like, like, I don't know, we'll see. So I mean, I don't. It's just it's I don't. I mean, politically, you would think that this would be like, I don't know, there would be a political backlash. Like this would affect elections,
Well, here's the thing.
but I don't think it
Well,
is.
what is it like? 0.001% of the United States population is into that stuff, but yet they get a whole month to just to have it for their you know it's ridiculous.
Have
It's
I ever
ridiculous.
have I ever told you my theory that I feel like that Black History Month and Gay Pride Month are all fucked up?
No,
And this is predates all this stuff. They fucked all this up. So okay, and I haven't. But okay, so like we used to have Lincoln's birthday and Washington's birthday. Washington
in
George
right in February.
George Washington was the founding father of the country, and you can really see as you get older, you respect a lot of what George Washington did and what he didn't do, and then obviously Lincoln, through the trials and tribulations of the Civil War and uniting the country and freeing the slaves and making us a more perfect union. Okay, like America became a country as opposed to a bunch of individual states after the Civil War. The historians know this. Well, they got rid of all that, and then they created President's Day. Okay, and then what they did is they made February Black History Month. Watch your microphone. They made February Black History Month, and the shortest month. And then I don't know when Martin Luther King's birthday is, but there's an MLK Day, but it's I think February is Black History Month. And what they should have done is they should have put Gay Pride in February because everybody wants to go to Miami in February, and that's where all the gay guys are at. You know,
How well I know.
yeah. Okay, so I mean, do that. You had the gay pride. It would have been it'd have been great. It makes perfect. It makes complete sense. Okay, so then you could have had Black History Month in June. Okay, now hear me out. I got it. Hear me out. This is a good idea. No one will ever do it because they won't. I'm telling it. You could do. You could all month. You could every day is about black inventors or black businesses or black religious leaders or black civil rights leaders or prominent black Americans, prominent black Americans through history, prominent black Americans during the Civil War and before the Civil War, and Harriet Tubman and W.E.B. Du Bois, and all of these. You could do all of this in June and culminates with July 4th, July 4th, birthday of the country, uh, the Gettysburg Address, and
Juneteenth.
Juneteenth is also in the month, and so it's like, and then it's like Black History Month, because we do have the quote the original sin of slavery, and then you culminate where we all come together July 4th, and we're a more perfect union, and it's so, and you know what, and then like, and the cookouts and the parades and the festivals and the fun and the cultural opportunities, everything would be much more useful and enjoyable by everybody if Black History Month was in fucking June when it should be, and then Gay Pride Month can be in February so we can all go down to fucking Miami and fucking and fucking
They
wear
don't need
rainbow.
it. Trust me. When we go down to Miami in winter, they're already there. They don't
Yeah,
need a special month.
I know, but you see my
You
point,
know.
right? It's like, like I feel like that's just all fucked up. But anyway, it's my theory.
Did you see where they renamed Fort Bragg? They took the name away from it.
Yeah, I did see that.
Now that's so freaking ridiculous.
Well,
I mean, they got their way.
yeah, I'm not a big fan of renaming the shit. Um,
Nor am I.
but it's you know.
They're renaming high schools, grade schools, everything. It's yeah, main roads, everything. I
Yeah.
mean, when to
Do you remember? Do
stop?
you know what they renamed Fort Bragg? Well, wait a minute. Hold on. Wait a minute.
Yeah, Fort Victory or something.
Or wait a minute. I may have it confused because did they rename Fort Hood as well?
I don't know. I
I
just caught
I
the one on Bragg
Yeah,
yesterday.
because Bragg was a Confederate general and John Bell Hood was a cavalry commander for the South. John Bell Hood was a decent guy. Bragg was a terrible general. Bragg was not good at all. Um, uh, and so one of them is called Fort Liberty. Maybe Hood's called Fort Liberty now. And it's like,
One of them, yeah.
it's like, I don't like. I'm of two minds of it. I don't want to. I okay, like Robert E. Lee, General Lee, when the war was over, swore allegiance to the United States and encouraged everybody. This was settled. It's over. We're all Americans. And I know I've read enough about Robert E. Lee. I read enough books on him. A lot of the stuff that people do, and I don't mean this in like a bad way, but like you see. you'll see like a giant statue of Lee somewhere, and like in Richmond or something. And Robert E. Lee would have never, ever been proud of that. He would have never, ever been proud of that. Robert E. Lee was not that kind of guy. Robert E. Lee was a pretty honorable, not ostentatious person. Like certainly, Pickett, George Pickett would love to have a big old freaking statue of his ass up in the middle of the, and it's just like, so
Pickett's
I
charge.
tried, the only way I try to make myself feel better about some of this stuff, because I don't like all I don't like all this Marxist revisionist, stuff trying to rename shit. And, an argument can be made that maybe some of the shit shouldn't have been named, but it's like, all right, well, you know, um,
Hey, I have a
what would
fun
Lee
fact.
say? And I'd be like, Lee would not, like, would Lee have been okay with, Hood and Bragg? I don't know, maybe.
Uh,
So,
I have a fun fact.
yeah,
If you see, let's say you see a statue, and the guy is on a horse in the statue. Well, that means he survived the war fine. If you see the statue and the horse has one leg up, he was wounded in battle during the war. If you see the horse with both legs up, he was killed in the war.
I never really, I never knew that. Is that like is that, is it,
I read that.
is that like the unwritten horse statue code from the
Uh,
Daughters of the American
s-
Revolution?
suppo- supposedly, supposedly, I'd like to look into that more, but I was told that, and I found it interesting.
The last time I was at the White House, what's the statue? Oh, what's the one in the horse in front of the White House over by the Wilmot Hotel? Um,
Marion Barry, I don't know.
no, is it? I don't think it's Grant. Who is it? Or maybe it's Harrison. No, not Harrison. No, who's the guy who was big during the War of 1812?
Now you got me pulling my hair out. What's left of it? Uh,
He wasn't president. He was a military commander,
right,
but he
right,
became
right.
president. He's considered
Not
the original
Sherman.
populist before Donald Trump. Jackson.
Stonewall.
No, not Stonewall Jackson. Andrew Jackson. Andrew
Andrew
Jackson.
J.
Yeah,
Right.
Stonewall. Just yeah. Stonewall statue. With Stonewall Jackson's statue of him on his horse will be two legs up because he didn't make it, and he
Well,
was shot
if,
by his own dudes.
yeah, well, I don't know if being fragged counts, but
Well, it was an accident, but I mean, like that guy was like, I mean, like we're gonna talk about like that guy's full blown. I mean, talk about on the spectrum. Being generous, he had Asperger's disease. Being realistically, he's probably full blown autistic. He was a bizarre. He was a bizarre guy, and relegated to the backwaters of the history department at the at Virginia Military Institute. They
well,
made fun of him.
if you're ever out west, and if there's a if Custer's on a horse, let's see where the legs are at.
Yeah, yeah. I've been out there. I've actually seen it. Hey, speaking of, I want to tell you this unique legal theory, and then maybe we'll get into we'll get into the police blotter. We'll go ahead and get her done. Um, did you hear? So Hunter Biden has a gun problem, right? Like you've
No,
heard,
I did not
well,
hear that.
Hunter Biden. Remember he bought a gun. He filled out a 4473. He lied about being addicted to drugs, and then
Oh yeah, right, right, right.
someone threw the gun in a garbage can, and maybe the Secret Service retrieved the gun. And like all the whatever the nonsense was going on. Well, he's that's his taxes are coming up. That's coming up, and he's slowly progressing down the railroad tracks of justice to having that be adjudicated. His attorneys have postulated an argument. Where is it here? The argument is that he was he had so the quote is Hunter Biden will say he had a right to own a gun while he was addicted to crack cocaine. President's troubled son could use Supreme Court decision his father was against to help fight weapons charges. And this is the Heller case, or the no the not the Heller case, the I think the recent one, the the one for the New York State, the one they just
I know
did.
what you're talking
Yeah, the
about.
one they just did. And so,
Right.
in addition to the long-running federal probe attack, the president's son has been investigated for a possible gun charge over a form he signed in 2018 when applying to own a firearm. He checked no when asked if he was addicted to drugs. Although this information appears to contradict information he put on his own autobiography about the state of at this time. His lawyers seek to fend off the potential persecution before it gets underway. They are pointing to a Supreme Court decision last summer that established a broad right for Americans to carry firearms in public. That could be a sound legal play, but it appears at odds with the president's own view of the 6-3 ruling by the conservative court. It comes as the White House continues to hit with questions about Hunter Biden's business practices as Republicans crank up their own probes. So the argument is, and this is an interesting argument. There's a lot of disability. This argument of being of are your God-given rights, can they be taken away from you because you're a felon?
Well,
In America, if you get, like, this has always been the weird thing. So, like, if you're a convicted felon, you can't have a gun in the United
you can't
States.
vote.
Oh no, but let's focus on the gun thing. Well,
Okay.
they're arguing. Wait a minute, hold on, you're right. They have been fighting about the disenfranchisement of felons and giving felons the right to vote. They have been doing that. And so then the argument is, like, if traditionally in America, it's been, if you're a convicted felon, you're not allowed to own a gun, possess a gun, buy a gun. And so, but if you're at home and you're a convicted felon, and the banditos come driving by and they kick in your door, and you pull out a shotgun and you smoke these three hoes, be like, what the fuck? You could easily make an argument, I think, in court. Well, I had the right to defend myself in my own home. I didn't give up my right to self-defense. And it's like you're gonna prosecute him for using a gun in self-defense, even though it's not supposed to have a gun. And so I call it the magic gun theory, like the magic bullet theory. The magic gun theory is you cannot have a gun if you're a convicted felon, but until you magically get to a point where, well, I need a gun to defend myself. And then, where'd the gun come from? Well, it just appeared. It's a magic gun. Like, it wasn't just, it dropped from the sky. I don't own a gun.
Right.
It's a crime scene. Like,
It's
they brought the gun. I don't know where the gun came from. It landed at
it,
my feet,
it
you know?
parachuted in.
Yeah. Well, and so, it seems to be that the Hunter Biden's attorneys are going to make a similar argument, in regards to crack cocaine and owning a gun. However, he should lose the case. And you know why?
I can think of 1,000 reasons, but God knows what's going through your mind.
Well, he what do they call it? He What do you call it when you knowingly incorrectly fill out a federal document and sign it?
Perjury.
Is that a perjury charge? Is that what they call
I
that?
think it
I
is.
think it is yeah, I think it is. So okay, so he may be able to make an argument that he couldn't have a gun, but he committed a felony perjury in acquiring a gun he wasn't supposed to have. And also, no one is making the argument that he has standing to claim self-defense. You can't claim self-defense if the banditos never come and kick in your door
Yeah,
and you
I was
shoot
going
them
to
hose
say.
down.
If
Huh?
you're not if you're not defending yourself, how's
Yeah.
it self
It's
defense?
yeah, it's called standing. So it's like I think he probably gets I don't know. There's perjury. Then there would be, I don't know. You could get into like commission of another to acquire a firearm, like under, maybe like a purge. Can you get a perjury with a gun spec? Like if you perjure yourself on a 4473 and you're charged with a felony, can you also, since you then at that point took possession of a gun, you had a gun on you in the commission of a felony. It's like having a gun on you commission like robbing a store. Like I don't know, like the Hunter Biden team better be very careful as to what landmines they want to step on here because this
Mm.
could get crazy bad quick. I just
Oh,
thought it was an
oh yeah,
interesting story.
that's some good points.
Yeah.
Very good points. Very
Um.
good points.
You know what? I'm going to give you just one police blotter. We'll go ahead and call it for the night. So
That sounds good. What
there's
you got?
there's what's the most you've ever heard someone getting fined for a speeding ticket for?
Getting fined for what?
A speeding ticket. A little vroom
Oh,
vroom.
I could tell you. Actually, it wasn't a speeding. Well, in my in my former life,
Hmm.
let's
Oh,
let's
oh
just
boy.
no, well, you let's just say I worked with a lot of the I worked with a lot of the state police type people, and there was a quarry on the right side of the road and a quarry on the left side of the road. Well, have you ever seen inside the quarry those giant dump trucks that, haul the big rock to be crushed into little rock?
Yeah,
Have you ever seen
I
those?
personally witnessed the them building the West Virginia Turnpike, and you would see those every day.
All right. Well, the quarry on the right side of the road was running out of big rock to crush for the left side of the road quarry where the crusher was.
Oh boy.
Let me finish. So rather than driving all through the tunnels and all the way around to the other side of the quarry, this guy decides to drive over the 2-lane state road from quarry A to quarry B. There just happened to be a state trooper on this road when the giant dump truck decides to go over the road, right? The copper pulled the guy over and they decided to weigh the truck.
Oh no.
Yeah, yes,
Oh
100,
no.
$162,000 overweight ticket. You can't make this up. Wait a minute, it gets better. They impounded the truck. The guy shows up with the wrecker. The wrecker would have probably fit in back of that dump truck. And the guy looks, what the hell am I supposed to do?
Where are they going to impound it to? They're going to tear up the
I,
road, take it at
I'm,
some.
I'm serious. That is a true story.
Oh my God. Well, so that blows away. I was an old man in Finland, was going 20 over and got fined $129,000. But no, apparently, no, 160 some thousand if you take the
Yeah,
giant Tonka truck over the
for an
high.
overweight ticket.
Oh man, that's awesome. And with that we are definitely back. So
I didn't
this
mean to one up you,
Oh, you
but
know, we needed it. We needed it. We needed it. Trust me. We needed the juice. Like the horses at the church, the horses at the racetrack. We needed the juice. So this wraps up episode 304 of the John Knights 11 podcast. If you want to see more stories or pictures or links of everything we discussed, please go to the website at johnknights11.com. That's JOHN1911.com, where it's all about shooting guns and having fun. Everybody, have a good night.
good night.